Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world. It's once again time for the WADcast, episode number 120. Hey, welcome to us. I want to let you all know this is the Writers, Actors, Directors podcast, and all those awesome jobs on set in between, where we talk about it's 120 episodes in. If you don't know by now, welcome to the show. You must be new around here. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, and joined with me, as always, is that guy that lives under the Hollywood sign next to the secret good Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah.
You might remember from a previous episode. Brandon.
What's up? Yeah, join as always when we're not having a load of technical difficulties. But we've been talking to each other on here off and on for about like a half hour now, just trying to get everything worked out.
Yep. Strangely enough, everything's working on my end.
Yeah. I'm going to have to rearrange a few things. The most ghetto setup I've had in a long time. Instead of using this lush desk behind me, I'm using a folding dinner tray right now.
Yeah, nobody would know that.
I'm just saying, like, for me, like, it's just like ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm working with right now. It's like being back in college when you move into your dorm for the first time. It is legit crotch shot. Look at all that. The desk is behind me, so I'm just over here, just making the best of what we have, so we can get this episode and actually hang out and talk to you fine people the world over. So, that being the case, let's go ahead and dive into it. What are we talking about tonight? Because I've been so busy this week. I don't think I even made any posts for this show today.
No, you didn't.
Usually good at that. I'm
It's
usually
like
pretty
you
good
didn't
at
have
that stuff,
any
though.
faith that we'd actually make it to air.
I had questions. I didn't know how this was going to work. So, because I've never used the laptop for the show.
Welcome to the 21st century, Brandon.
I know, right? I use a smartphone, but apparently my phone's not that smart. So that being the case, all the difficulties that we've had has been because, well, I guess I could set up the Canon. I don't know if I can record like live video with a Canon if I have it all hooked up with the mic and all that stuff hanging off of it.
If it's live, is it really recording? I said if it's live, is it really recording?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. But either way, so we're here hanging out with everybody.
That's us, the Hanger Outers.
Yep. So anyway, Josh, it's good to have an episode again for the first time. Oh, Jesus, what, like in 2 weeks, I think, right? And like the other week, it was kind of cut short because there are technical difficulties happening.
Yeah, it's been a nightmare of epic proportions just to get this show on the air, and quite frankly, everything over the last couple of weeks has been kind of dark on our end for a variety of reasons. One of them, okay, quick story here. Over the last couple of weeks, and maybe even closer to 3 weeks, I legit thought I was dying. I had a hard time breathing, and there was all sorts of gunk in my head. I couldn't really think straight, and I kept thinking, well, this is it. This is how I go out, just in a haze of phlegm. That's the end of me. It's one of those, I guess, common guy overreactions. I'm sick. That means I'm dying, especially when you hit 40 and over. But as I kept trying to take, like tablets for cold and flu, and nothing was working, I just didn't know what to do. I was like, yep, I caught the deadly cold. And no, I'm not talking about COVID. I'm not, saying that, not by any stretch, but that very rare instance where someone dies of the common cold. And then someone said, well, are you running a fever? I was like, no, I'm not running a fever. It sounded more like, no, I'm not running a fever. Like, okay. Are you feeling nauseous? No. Okay. then maybe it's just allergies. Wait, what?
If it was allergies that made you act like a little baby the entire time, I swear to God, man.
So they said, take a Claritin, give me money. And I did. I'm like, this isn't good. Oh, yeah, much better. I feel normal again.
Yeah.
Cool. So yes, my my awful feeling and quite frankly, maybe a tad bit overreacting was due to my very first, mind you, bout with severe allergies.
You know, you got to really be careful because you're giving us, like, you know how women give men like a lot of shit because when we get sick, we're big old babies and all that stuff. You're giving us a bad name. You're making that look real.
It is real.
It is not real.
It's totally real.
Nope. Nope. Fabrication, man. Fabrication.
Hey, we can be our true selves here, Brandon. This is a safe space.
It's a safe space. No, see, honestly, like if I'm sick, I just like I don't associate with anyone because I'm usually just like not in a good mood.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's
you've
fair.
you've known me for years. You've known me well enough to know that if I am not in like even on my best days, I'm kind of an asshole. So when I'm
yeah.
so when I'm sick, it's one of those deals where I honestly I can't function. And what little patience I have is the very last reserve in the barrel. So it has to be used very carefully. Otherwise, I run out so quickly. I exhaust my supply of patience. So, but yeah, so it's like I think when I had COVID, you know, I wasn't trying to be an asshole, but I was a monumental dick when I had COVID. Like I'm just going to the bathroom was like running a marathon for me, and I haven't ran since God.
It's funny. I can tell you the last time I ran, and it was like 2003.
Oh no, I remember when I ran. I remember the last time I ran. Target. I bought a copy of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game on PS4. And I only ran because some kid was trying to show it to his mom, and he didn't know he could take the game out of the electronics section, so he put the game back to go get his mom because it was like the very last copy, and that's the game I went there to go get.
Uh-huh.
So I ran to where the game was to snatch it up to where I could get the game before this little kid could convince his mom to buy it for him.
That's good.
And then as I'm checking out with the cashier, that's when the woman comes back. She's like, "Okay, I'll get it for you. It's your birthday." I'm like, "Oh." Getting judged by the guy at the counter the whole time. Are you sure you want this copy, sir? I was like, "We have it for Nintendo Switch." Like, no, I want this one. Says it nice and loud. I was like, "So you want this last copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the PS4?" And then mom just turns around, like looking at me. I'm like, "You dick."
The answer is yes. Yes, I do. Let the lady with the disposable income get the other version.
Listen, it's survival mode, okay? It's either me or the kid, and it's not my kid, so it's me.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Right? Yeah, thank you. Anyway, yeah, last time I ran, it was like just to go get the game from the shelf really quick.
At least you didn't knock over any kids on the way that you told us about.
I have not knocked over a kid in a long time. Yeah, and that was an accident, though. That's different, like not important at all. Thing is still, God, I might be a bad person. Shit.
Might be. That's been one of the themes of the show since the beginning. 120 episodes in, Brandon might be a bad person.
It could be worse. It could be like Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So, oh God. Anyway, so moving on from
our conversation on this conversational podcast.
Well, we talk about movies, the film
That's
industry, the
true.
TV
That's true.
industry. We're not talking about any of that stuff, unless we were to dive into like the writing aspect of the Ninja Turtle games, which most of them were like, let's face it, the arcade game and Turtles in Time and the Hyperstone Heist, all amazing writing in those games. Amazing
Please, it's
writing.
garbage.
Yeah, it's really not, but it's good writing.
Okay. Okay, just for the
Okay.
sake of argument here.
Yep.
The basic plot is always Shredder kidnaps April.
Nope.
Turtles have to rescue April.
Nope.
That's exactly what it is for the arcade game.
Arcade game, yes. Turtles in Time, no, and Hyperstone Heist, no.
Yeah, those actually have like cutscenes and.
I mean, yeah. I mean, either way. So,
So you
what
got
was
the
our?
Cowabunga collection.
Yes, yes. Now I just have to get like the online pass. So if you have it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have it. My friend Steven has it. My best friend since like third grade. He has it. So one of these nights we're going to actually like coordinate a time for the three of us to go in there and just rock out to this game. It's going to be trickier for me because I'm 3 hours behind you guys. But plus both you and Steve are fathers. You've got 3 kids. He's got 6 kids. So I've got 2 that pretty much.
Are you one of those fur baby people? These are my fur babies.
No. What I do is, hey, do you have any kids? Like, well, yeah, right now they're at home in the crate. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I dressed them this morning. I put them in the crate. I went to work.
Don't worry, they have plenty of water.
Yeah. It's like, I think I put water in the crate. No, but I'm not at all. Obviously, I love my dog Indiana. Chaos.
You tolerate.
I tolerate. He's not a bad dog. He's just
Simple.
yeah. We should have named him Simple Jack. I don't got a good brain.
That's what I love to hear on a Friday night. But I know that you saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? Quantumania?
I did.
I saw it too. What'd you think?
Kang was amazing. I'll say that Kang was like that whole story, like with him. That was amazing. MODOK. What the hell, man? Like I get that they had to find some way to make MODOK work, but at the same time, I don't see why they didn't just. I don't know. Not do what they did. Now, as far as everything else goes, I honestly here's the thing. I feel like I honestly feel like the MCU is trying to find its place after all the events leading up to Endgame. And let's face it, it's very hard to top the chemistry with those actors. I mean, those actors,
Yeah.
like the entire first couple phases leading up to Endgame, at some point they all interact with each other. The actual Avengers movies, like they were constantly being referenced in other movies.
Mm-hmm.
The events are being referenced. So when it comes to the Avengers movie, it's like the big amalgamation of all these stories. You have all these other characters that are finally coming to a head. And then when it splits off, you still have other really great stories with these characters.
Right.
Some not as good, but you still have these stories. Now, you don't really have that mixture anymore. Like that, like I think Disney's biggest mistake was creating TV shows for characters. Now, the whole Wanda and Vision thing and all that stuff, that actually would have been a pretty damn good movie. That would have been an amazing movie. WandaVision would have been a great movie. Now, going back to Loki, again, Loki, I think, should have been an actual movie. She-Hulk, Yeah, sure. I think people would have been pissed off if they went to go see the movie version of She-Hulk and got trolled at the very end of the movie, like, the whole, oh, this is a bad ending, and we're going to fix this really quick, like, whatever. But I think they're having a hard time keeping up, and the writing to me, it just kind of shows. Yeah, it just, that's something
It's
that
a lot of
honestly,
content.
yeah, it's. I don't like the fact that they recasted Cassie because they wanted like a more well-known name. I don't know that much about the actress that played Cassie. I assume that's more for like the younger generation because she's been in a few things that kids can relate to. But I liked the chemistry between Scott Lang and his daughter in what do you call it?
Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like I like their chemistry together. She actually did a good job. Um, and not just Ant-Man and the Wasp because that was before they got sucked into everything before Endgame. But the daughter that when he sees the daughter as an adult, like I mean, she's actually done some stuff. I don't see why they wanted to recast her because I thought it was kind of dirty how they did that too. Because she didn't know she was being recasted until after Disney made the announcement, I think on Twitter or something like that. That's how she found out she wasn't going to be playing Cassie again. But yeah, like MODOK, I don't like how they did the writing for him, making it like Darren. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just seemed really sloppy to me. I guess Paul Rudd was great as always. I mean, Paul Rudd is
Yeah.
always awesome at what he does. But yeah, I don't know. Like,
Especially without spoilers. I'm gonna try and do this without spoilers. Especially when he's like, hmm, hmm.
oh yeah, right. But
Yeah.
okay, yep. But I
Doing
mean,
his Paul Rudd thing is only Paul Rudd can.
yeah, yeah. He can say a lot with just his face without even speaking. I was pretty upset that Wu wasn't in this one. Agent Wu, like that would have been awesome.
He was.
Was he?
Yeah.
I must have missed that part. Oh no, that's right at the beginning. That's right.
What we were missing was Luis.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I mean, Paul Rudd, like like I guess Lang and Wu's interactions are always awesome. They're always hysterical. Um, Now Louise, like that would have been awesome, but I don't know. I honestly, I know that they have plans for this whole next like 2 phases of the MCU. I think they need to start picking up their game because they are losing a lot of the people that were there from the beginning. Like people are getting bored with these stories now. It's like, well, these aren't as good as the old ones. I'm not talking about like the toxic bullshit, like the whole MCU, like look how edgy I am kind of people. I'm talking about the people that have very greatly enjoyed and rewatched movies from the get go.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I forget the name of the writer really quick. Let me see. So they're really quick for Ant-Man. That he's ever any like thing for a major movie before.
Brandon doing his
Let me
research.
see really quick.
And
Yeah.
this is the song about it. Brandon doing his research. And this is his song about it.
Yeah.
Brandon connection getting crappy. And this is the song about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking.
See, I don't
Yeah.
know if
Sorry about
he's
that.
like staring intently
Can
at
you
the
see me okay?
screen or yeah, I can see it now. I was gonna say I don't know if you're like reading the screen intently or if your camera's frozen. It's one or the other. But you're
I'm
back now.
There we go. Let's see. Create 2 windows. That way I can have that open and see you and read this at the same time. So let's see.
Is he concentrating or is
Okay.
he frozen?
Yeah, so when it came to everything else, he's written for The Office before. He's written for Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
He's written for he's written for Jimmy Kimmel. He's written for The Office. He's written for Rick and Morty. But as far as actually helming a legitimate screenplay for a major studio, this is his very first time he ever did it, and it shows. It really does show. Writing a feature length screenplay, especially like for a superhero movie. Um, and let's go more specifically, an established superhero movie, right? Writing something like that versus writing a half-hour TV show, animated or live. They're two different beasts. They really are. And I
Yeah.
was trying to figure out why it felt like I was watching a TV show half the damn time, and I realized the writing in it. That that was largely it. It seemed to have like just TV show beats to me, and like I was trying to figure out why, and now I see why.
Well, would you say the same thing about uh, Infinity War
Uh,
Endgame?
Not really, because that had to be structured in a very specific kind of way. um, yeah, Infinity War and even Endgame, they had to be structured so strategically to tell so many different stories almost simultaneously happening.
Hmm.
So the way that those movies were written, like, yeah, it may have come off that way to certain people. Like a lot, honestly, it felt like a lot of little short films to me, but that was because it honestly, it was. If you think about it, the whole entire first phase with the whole Infinity Saga, the first couple phases, they're not just sequels or like separate movies. I consider them like anthology movies. They're all tied together, and the common placement are the Infinity Stones after Iron Man 1. So once Captain America, came out, it just, yeah, it became an anthology. So you had Nick Fury connecting everything. You had the Infinity Stones. You had, it's just like Shield was like the common thread. Like in any anthology, you have one thing or two things that connects the entire series together, right?
Right.
I'm not really seeing that with this right now. That it just seems like that's what's making this new phase different to me.
Well, it's just now kind of getting started with the multiverse.
Yeah, yeah. The multiverse, the Kang Dynasty's coming up. I think in 2 years, right? 2 or 3 years, they're doing the Kang Dynasty.
What year is it now?
2023.
Are you sure?
That's a check, but
Let me check the calendar. So yeah, King Dynasty in 2025. Secret Wars is what? 2026. So yeah. Two Avengers movies, 2025, 2026. It's the culmination of everything that is where would you say this started? Really? No Way Home?
um,
Loki?
I'd say Loki. Actually, I would say Loki and WandaVision together. Um, there's a video that discussed this. In Loki, excuse me, in Loki and WandaVision, there is a scene that lines up perfectly, like the music and everything else lines up perfectly. Where once, like at the very end of Loki, right? Like He Who Remains, Kang's like the good Kang, right? The one that stopped the
Good.
multiversal war. Well, I mean, he stopped the multiversal war, and he's trying to keep the sacred timeline intact. Like so, yeah. Like by all means, like he's actually the good one. He may not do it the most admirable way, but he's trying to make sure things don't turn chaotic.
Mhm.
He's trying to stop the incursions and everything else, like all that jazz. But there's a scene where when he's talking about to Loki and the female Loki, I forget her name,
Sylvie.
Sylvie. While he's talking to them, this video has a side by side of Loki over here, and then it has I'm sorry, yeah, it has the He Who Remains over here, and it has Wanda over here, and it's as she's turning into the Scarlet Witch, she's absorbing Agnes's all of her power and everything else. She's turning into the Scarlet Witch. Finally, she's got her full potential is coming in, right?
Uh-huh.
That's where he stops talking, but the music matches up perfectly, and he's like, "I've never seen this future before. Like, I don't know what happens next now." Because at that point, like, she is now capable of going into different universes. She's able to, like, she's going to learn how to do this now,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that being the case, I still think that it would have been awesome if those two things were movies, or at least like as she's turning into the Scarlet Witch, that could have been a movie itself. Show her slow descent into madness. But yeah, I don't know. It's I think with No Way Home, it definitely added to it with the whole ripping open the multiverse. Twice? The beginning of the movie and at the
More or
very end
less.
when when the Green Goblin blows up the box and the bad spell gets out and creates all kinds of chaos. So yeah. But I mean, I would like to see it get to the point where I'm actively looking forward to movies coming out again. Because like remember like when the first movies came out, like at the end of Captain America will return, Thor will return, Iron Man will return. You had all those things, so it's like you're actively looking forward to the next movie to come out, and now it's just like I don't know.
I don't know. I'm always looking for the next thing to come out. I'm still loving all of this stuff.
I
I,
enjoy it.
I
Don't get me wrong.
enjoyed Quantumania very much. And I'm not going to say it's by any means a near perfect movie. I like essentially the entire Bill Murray thing
Oh yeah, that
probably could have
was
just been cut.
that was very much a glorified cameo.
And
And
I
and
appreciate the cameo, but
it's
it
always
wasn't
great.
necessary.
Yeah, it's always great seeing Bill Murray, but that really was not necessary whatsoever. Like that it didn't do anything for the story. It didn't move it forward. And this is actually something I've seen in these screenwriting groups that we're members of in Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of anything that does not move the story forward. Unless you have a name for yourself and you have studio backing, that you can write whatever you want. Bill Murray, just putting him in there is like, why?
Yeah, it adds not much of anything to the plot other than we find out that she was involved with people while she was in the quantum realm.
Yep. And
And that's it. That's the gist of it.
yeah, I mean, you could have just gotten. Well, plus they already spoke about that before this, didn't they?
No.
Is that when? Oh, that's right. No, that's right. It's right afterwards when. Yeah, that's right. It's right afterwards when Hank finds out that she's, and she's like, "Well, I have needs. Like, I was in here for like 30 years."
Yeah,
So,
he had no idea that societies even existed in the quantum realm.
yep. Yeah,
And she said,
he thought she was just down there, like just like stuck there, and even thought like didn't even think that she was like dead or something like that. Like just
I don't know about dead, but definitely probably
trapped.
not in the best shape,
Yeah.
let alone thriving, helping someone. Don't want to get into spoilers, but yeah, he finds out that while she was away, she had a history,
Yeah.
and Bill Murray was a part of that. That's it. That's the entire.
Can can I say something that's going to be a spoiler, kind of?
Hold on. Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want to hear this part, mute it. If you don't, it's on you now because there's a little thing down here that says it's a spoiler. The way that they got Darren back on their, I'm sorry, MODOK back on their side, or the way Cassie did rather. Like, you don't have to be a dick. And all of a sudden he's like, I want to do good now. I'm not a. He dies like, I'm not a dick. I'm an Avenger now. And Scott's like, sure, you're in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just like the way they got like his whole like one thing I don't like about like movies that do stuff like that is like you had this character that has this pent up hatred for years, right? Years. And someone like Darren Cross in Ant-Man, he was a vile person. And it didn't change in Ant-Man and Quantumania. He was still a vile person. He still hated Scott Lang, right? Still hated him. Even more so, he hated Hank. But now all of a sudden, he's going to die a hero because he knows now he doesn't have to be a dick anymore. So all of a sudden, change of pace. Now I'm going to sacrifice myself because I'm not a dick. And he's like, even like when he's going after Kang, he's like, I'm not a dick. Like, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah, it's a character that didn't need a redemption arc.
It's like, yeah, like MODOK is not a redeemable character by any means. Like, I mean, it's in his name. There's nothing redeemable. Like, what they shouldn't even brought Darren back. It should have just been MODOK. Of all these things that Kang created, why could he not create that? You don't have to have it be like, from AIM like it is in the comic books. You don't have to have him be like an AIM kind of like, kill bot. You could have changed a few things, like, took some liberties. But to do it with someone like Darren Cross and just, he was mutated when he shrunk down. And this is how Kang saved him, and now he's Kang's servant. I don't know. Like there's a lot that I feel like the characters themselves were not fully understood by the guy that was writing them. And
I thought the main characters were just every ancillary. Well, not every ancillary character, because there were a lot of really shining moments from secondary cast.
Yeah.
Especially when you find out things like, yes, I hear everybody's thoughts and people are awful.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it's like
it goes back to, especially in that particular scene. How many holes do you have? He has 7. And just the look on Paul Rudd's face where he goes from, yeah. Because you can see he's counting.
Yeah.
He's like,
it's I don't know.
But overall, I enjoyed it. It was a fun watch for me. Not without its flaws, as movies tend to have. And watch this. I'm gonna make magic real quick. You paying attention?
Go for it.
Some movies are practically flawless, at least in our opinions, and that's why they generally wind up, as kind of like our favorite movies.
Oh, okay. So that's where we're going to transition, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Segue. So,
and just to give you guys a hint as to what we're talking about here. That's right.
We're talking about Robin Williams classic Toys.
Yeah, Toys. I thought we were going to talk about Mac and Me.
Isn't that the one where they kill a kid in a wheelchair?
It's the one, yeah, from the clip of the kid that's always flying off the cliff that Paul Rudd shows everyone at late night talk shows. Like, oh yeah, it's a great movie. Check this out.
Gotta be honest, I haven't seen that one.
You're not missing anything. But no, you and I have...
Shut up, Brandon. Say hi to your mom.
Oh. Hey, Mom, what's up?
There you go.
No, you and I have very specific favorite movies. And
yes.
Right now, I can happily say that as of this moment, they're both now trilogies, because I don't count 2016. That's that movie.
Well, it's not part of the
Yeah, no. We don't. That's like it's like Hogwarts and Voldemort. He who must not be named. Yeah, it's like that. Either way, so you're a lifelong Back to the Future fan.
I am, yes.
A very much a lifelong Ghostbusters fan. I have this cute picture of me wearing a proton pack when I was like 6 years old in a leopard print robe. Um,
I will admit your movie had a lot more merchandising potential for kids in the 80s.
well, I mean, the thing is, like, people don't realize that Back to the Future even had a cartoon series. It didn't last
Yeah.
long, but it did have a cartoon series.
hmm
But yeah, how would you honestly get like how would you get toys for Back to the Future? Like Ghostbusters is one thing because they have like all those weird ghosts that they can always make, and plus the real Ghostbusters. They had a very specific theme song, and at the end of each episode of the real Ghostbusters, you would always hear the theme song.
hmm
Then like while they're catching a ghost. But I'll let you go ahead and pop off with why you are so invested in Back to the Future.
No, you're gonna make me take lead on the thing you wanted to talk about.
You brought it up. You made that. I didn't know we were going to talk about this because we were talking about the Ant-Man and the Wasp, so Ant-Man and Quantumania so much. But you go ahead. You made the transition, so you take the floor.
So, okay, I guess this is turning into an audio essay on why I love Back to the Future, right?
Well, let's not make it like a college room lecture.
Not make it like that.
Yeah, let's not do the whole like. Well, if you look at this right here, here's a slideshow as to why it's such a great movie. Like, just just from the heart, Josh.
From the heart. Okay.
From the heart.
Why do I love Back to the Future? Well, one, it is the singular movie that initiated my love for all things time travel. If there's a time travel movie, I am on board always. And this Back to the Future is the absolute reason why. Now, it stems from the idea of somebody thinking back to what their parents were like in high school, and if they would get along with them and that kind of thing. And being the age I am now, I often think, what if I were younger?
Okay.
No, that's not really a relevant thought. Anyway, but it is that interesting idea of, would I be friends with my parents in school? What were my parents like? So, Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis put that to paper, and Back to the Future was born.
Yep.
It's about a kid that goes back in time accidentally, by the way, and finds out his parents were actually teenagers at one
Yep.
point. They weren't always the people they were as adults. And that can be a hard lesson, for a lot of people growing up, knowing that their parents were just as awkward or bullheaded as they are. And after all, that's where you get it from.
Yeah.
But it also has a lot of classic ideas thrown in, beating the bully,
Yeah.
going to prom, making out with your mom, typical teenager stuff, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Everyone makes out with their mom. It's the coolest. Oh God. Sorry, Mom.
It's almost like he took this road because he knew somebody was watching.
Well, actually, I was making a cut towards Billy Madison's like, everyone pees their pants. It's the coolest.
If peeing your pants is cool, then consider me Miles Davis. Lady, that's the grossest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh God. So it's like, well, I mean, so
So yeah,
the
it
thing,
got awkward.
so no,
Admittedly, this whole thing got awkward.
oh no. It's the thing is like with Back to the Future though. Going back to that, Back to the Future. Now I've given you a lot of shit over Back to the Future. Usually it's like
Yeah,
taking jabs at
bastard.
you, and there was one time where you just thought you just pretty much you flipped out on me.
I did not flip
Oh,
out.
you did too.
I flipped off.
You told me I was a douchebag and everything else, but you were like
That's not flipping out.
to the point where I actually felt bad. I don't usually feel bad, but I actually felt kind of bad. So I think I sent you like Baby Yoda and everything with the big old eyes, talking about how and like something stupid like I'm sorry, and it's like
There aren't many movies that I'll go to the mat for, but Back to the Future is one of them.
yeah, but
It's a practically perfect screenplay
yeah,
from top to bottom. It's taught
it is taught in film school
in film school.
and other accredited colleges too. Like I mean, it is taught.
It has a timeless cast.
Oh yeah.
Marty, Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd are
Oh,
an
the
amazing duo.
chemistry. Oh yeah, the chemistry. I would love to see. Um, I know there's footage out there. A little trivia for everybody. Michael J. Fox was not the first person to play Marty McFly. It was actually Eric Stoltz that played Marty McFly, and
Yes,
he filmed I think 90% of all of his scenes.
quite a few. Yes.
But yeah, they're almost done using him as Marty McFly before they fired him and brought in Michael J. Fox to film all those scenes all over again. And they realized what was missing is the fact that Eric Stoltz was more dramatic with the role of Marty. It was like it wasn't funny to watch him versus Michael J. Fox, who, if you have not watched any movie outside of Back to the Future with Michael J. Fox in it, go watch things like Doc Hollywood, The Frighteners, or like other movies that he's been in, like over the years.
Hmm.
The chemistry that he has in those movies, the way he carries himself, even in Family Ties, he was always great. Like I
Spin
mean,
City.
Spin City, Scrubs. Like I mean, all these shows and movies that he was in, he is hysterical. Now, and he's also very good at being dramatic when he has to be. Now, that being the case, Eric Stoltz was nothing but dramatic. It was apparently just even watching the footage I've seen of Eric Stoltz playing Marty McFly, it is boring in comparison.
Hmm.
Like Marty McFly, yeah, Marty McFly was lost in time. He was lost in 1955 in Hill Valley. He didn't know anything about it for that time period. It was straight up fish out of water, right?
Yeah.
But there was this drive in him. Like he wasn't just wandering around like, oh my God, where am I? If you watch Eric Stoltz when he leaves the diner, he just kind of just like wanders out and walks across the park, across the street by the tower. Now, the clock tower. Marty McFly, when he leaves the diner, he almost gets hit by a car. Right? Like he almost gets hit by a car and everything else. And it's kind of like more hysterical watching him because he's just completely flabbergasted by everything. So watching him in those movies, and even like when it came to Back to the Future 2 and 3, I like Back to the Future 1 out of all three movies. That's my favorite one because after that, there's kind of like just throw caution to the wind as far as not messing with time. That's one thing I've always thought was hysterical. Is Doc Brown was like, "Do not mess with time. Don't change anything. Incognito." And they're just like both.
Well,
Hey,
gotta kind of wonder if the entire resolution of the first movie was, hey, we made everything better than it was before.
yeah, I know. I thought about that, but it's just like, just think, like, as a physicist, like Doc Brown, right? As someone with the engineering capabilities, like as brilliant as he is, right?
Uh-huh.
In Back to the Future 3, the whole thing was we got to say incognito.
Uh-huh.
Don't change time. We leave no trace of us being here, as little as possible. Hey, Marty, let's take a picture here.
Well,
Well, no,
as he said, the picture already exists.
did he say that in the movie?
Yeah, that's how Marty knew that he was there.
No, he knew he was there because in the original picture it was just Doc Brown.
Right.
So that's
I'm
what I'm
saying
saying. Like,
they know at least a version of the picture exists.
yeah, I'm just saying, it's like it just cracked me up that like Doc Brown would even like. Well, I guess in his mind he's stranded there. Might as well live
Mhm.
it up, right?
Yeah,
Um,
he's become a permanent fixture of that timeline in his
yep,
mind.
yep. And then with Marty though, it's like he goes back there to rescue Doc Brown. Like he goes back there with the explicit goal of getting him out of there. And Doc Brown at that point was even on, like, they were already planning their escape with the train and getting the DeLorean back up to 88 miles per hour. So they knew they were going to leave, and they're still like, you know what, photo op. Now there are callbacks like if they were hysterical, like when he's got like the what was it, like the pie pan, and he's like just like go wings at the gun, and then you find out it's like says frisbee. The guy's like, oh, frisbee.
The Frisbee Pie Company.
But the one thing I guess the big debate, right? The big debate is this Marty that we're following in these movies, is he the first Marty to go back in time and then go forward to the future and all that stuff? Like, is he the first one? It's never really answered because people say he is because, like, what was it, like in the Twin Pines Mall? It turns
Mhm.
into what was it, like the Lone Pine Mall, I think.
Right, because he ran over the tree.
Yeah, he destroyed one of the yeah, he ran over one of the Twin Pines. When he first went back in time, he plows down the tree. But
Yeah, first thing he does, the very
very
first
first
thing he
thing.
does.
Very first thing he alters the timeline.
Mhm.
But people are like, oh well, he's the first Marty because he did that. It's like, how do you know? Now my whole thing is like, if he was the first Marty, him going into the future, 30 years, that would have been like a 30-year period where he did not exist anywhere. There's no way he could have had that family if he was the first Marty to do that. So another Marty would have had to have been successful in whatever they're doing for that to happen. And this is what I like about Back to the Future, because it really makes you think. If you just dive into it, it's like a whole rabbit hole of thoughts.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like
Because even there's an episode of Darkwing Duck, not related, but like there's an episode where Gosling gets kidnapped by accident and gets transported into the future with two of Darkwing Duck's villains. And so for like that, like the 30 years that she's gone, Darkwing Duck has become rageful and vengeful. You know, he fired Launchpad. And now he's like driving a tank and like a fighter jet. Like he is more like Negaduck than he is like Darkwing Duck. He is just flat out totalitarian. He's pretty much, his future is all totalitarian.
Darkwing Duck Injustice.
No, I mean if you ever watch that episode, it's actually a pretty good episode. But
Of course, I've seen the
so
episode.
so my thoughts were, this is a 30-year period where Marty would not exist. So when he were to go into the future, he would have had to have already successfully made that mission. Like, so this another Marty would have already had to been there throughout the timeline for this Marty to go and save his kid. So the Marty in the future is the Marty. I always told someone, like, I look at the Marty in the future as the original Marty, like the very first one, because he settled down. You know, he and Jennifer had their kids.
But
But
which
yeah,
timeline is that? That's the thing to remember.
yeah,
Because timeline A is 1985. He's has a crappy life with mom and dad, Biff's bully. And then by the end of that, they're in timeline B, where uh, his dad's a successful writer,
yep.
and they have the truck, because of course the truck is the answer to everything.
Oh yeah, that
Um,
the damn truck.
and then in Back to the Future 2, go to the future, da, 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 da. But when they go back to 1985, it's timeline C, where it's Biff World.
Yeah,
And no
yeah.
matter how much they think they've put things back in order, no, that's not the case, because in uh, after they do their mission in Back to the Future Part 2, they go back to 1985, and that's Biff's World. But after that, there's a timeline D,
Yeah.
From that point on, where Biff sees the flying DeLorean and the hoverboard and all that. So that's a timeline where he has those experiences. But then you go even further back to the 1885 story, which creates timeline E, because after that point, everything's changed. So when they get back to 1985, at the end of Back to the Future Part 3, they're really in timeline E. Um, and that drastically changes everything from the future because, well, everything should have been changed already for the future because it's a completely different timeline. But the fact that he didn't get into that drag race with Flea,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, Needles,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
um, would also alter that, change his history, which is why, even though I am not a proponent for a fourth Back to the Future movie, I am definitely not one of those guys that's like, we need more. But I was asked once, and I think it might have been by you. I don't recall, but somebody said,
It was me.
if you had to, gun to your head, they said, there's going to be a fourth movie. You're giving us the story. What is it going to be? I said, well, if you have to, I think the fourth movie, or even the second trilogy, however you want to do it, has to be about um, Doc wanting to uh, reset everything to timeline A,
Yeah.
because um, after all, he spent so many times saying we can't change the timeline, but that's what they did, like straight away from the jump.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I
Everything
mean,
changed.
that's all they did in the entire trilogy. That they just kept changing the damn timeline.
I would say that the biggest victims of their time manipulation is probably the Tannins.
Yeah.
They're to think whatever excuse me, whatever progeny came about from that family tree has had to suffer even more so
Oh yeah.
because of the McFly interference. So my pitch for a fourth Back to the Future movie would be um, Biff's granddaughter or great granddaughter, depending on how you want to do this, has to uh, Doc. He's too old for these time traveling things, um, and maybe he doesn't want to remember. Um, let me back it up. In this world, it was my thought that because Marty didn't get into the wreck with the Rolls Royce,
Yep.
his music career took off. Excuse me for a second. I need to much
Yeah.
better.
Josh is a little sickly, ladies and gentlemen.
A little bit. So he didn't get into the wreck with the Rolls Royce. That means his music career took off, which
Yeah.
means he would probably be peaking early 90s,
Yeah. Yeah.
really building his career in the 90s. A
It would have been
a
grunge.
big era for that kind of um movement, sort of possibly grunge. And
We
my
see.
thought was Marty uh breaks up with Jennifer,
Oh god.
or she breaks up with him because he's, living a rock star lifestyle in the 90s, and he winds up dying
Oh, okay.
because of this.
Wow. Okay.
So the first thing I would do was kill Marty. And Doc knows that it's his fault because that was a life that Marty was never supposed to have, because that was not timeline A. And he thinks the only way, oh, and somewhere along the lines, his crippling depression makes, Clara leave him. Maybe she, has an accident somewhere, maybe, whatever the case may be. Jules and Vern are out there, they're suffering. There's just a lot of bad stuff going on.
Yeah.
So Doc wants to erase all of it. And he decides that he doesn't need to go on the mission because he doesn't want to be able to remember.
Yep.
He doesn't want to remember this life. So he finds the one person that would benefit from getting this original timeline back, and that's a Tannen.
Yep. Yeah, they really like. I mean, I know Biff was a dick back in 1955, and he was even kind of a dick in the 80s too. You know, he kind of kept the whole bully mentality, but they really, really, really messed with that poor dude's entire life. Like they just kept like changing his life to make theirs better. To the point
And
where they made it so much worse.
the thing about Biff, he did have his like full circle moment when he gets treated like crap by his grandkids.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I mean, it's already come to like playing like, but he was so desperate to have a better life for himself because of how raw a deal he got from everything. And granted, you get the energy. I guess like largely with the lesson is you get the energy that you put out in the world, right?
Hmm.
They've never really put any. Well, none of the Tannins ever really put anything positive out in the universe. Like with them, it's always been very self-serving. Because even when he went back to the future in a deleted scene, Biff dies. When he goes back in, when he goes back to 1955. No, I'm sorry. When he returns to the future,
Yeah.
he dies. And it's not that he just. I think he like fades out of time or something like that, right?
Yeah, he just ceases to exist because he just destroyed the timeline where that reality was even possible.
Yep. So yeah, but it's like either way, like I have to go back to it. There was really no character growth for Biff at all in any of the movies, like any of the Tannins. It was always like a different version of Biff. It was like you have the one 1955, you have Griff in 2015, and then you have Mad Dog Tannen back in 1985. I'm sorry,
Don't call me
1885.
Mad Dog.
Yeah, but
And for some reason, Strickland is always in charge of
I know, right?
discipline.
It's like these people have never left Hill Valley. It's like, oh, I have everything I need here. Like what? Oh, the clock tower. Oh, that's cool. What else is there? Oh, there's a diner over there. That's
Three
awesome.
things you know are true. Three things you know are true in Hill Valley. A Tannen's always going to be abusive.
Yep.
A Strickland's always going to try and keep him in line.
Yep.
And a McFly is always going to be a loser.
Yep. Oh man.
And you would say that the Browns are going to always, and then you realize, no, it's just Doc. Doc is the only Brown in every generation.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like I gotta say, Back to the Future. It's always had a special. Like I remember seeing. I think, Mom. I don't know if you're still with us on the show here, listening in, but I believe when I was a kid, we lived in Florida. And we lived in the middle of East Bumble. It was like middle of nowhere. Um, when I say like deep in the woods, I mean like just deep, deep, deep in the woods. But we went to go see, I think, Back to the Future 3 at a drive-in. Okay. All right, Mom, you're still here. I think I'm right about this. I think we went to go see Back to the Future 3 at like in a drive-in when I was a kid. At this point, I kind of knew about Back to the Future, but I was like, when I say little, I'm little tyke. Super small. But I was not necessarily as adorable as I am today, but I was still kind of cute. But I remember being fascinated with everything because I didn't really know much about Back to the Future other than like I think watching it on VHS, possibly like watching one of them on VHS. I remember I didn't see Back to the Future 2 yet, but I remember like when I was a little bit older, when I was like second or third grade, the cartoon came out. And this is back when like you did like you had VHS tapes, but remember like the weekend, like Sundays on like old school TV, you could watch like the movies that they would have, right, Josh? Remember those days?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you'd have like your Sunday movies and everything else, on, like Fox or whatever, ABC,
Mhm.
NBC. So that's how I actually saw Back to the Future 2 for the first time. It was on TV with all the commercials and things obviously cut out because it's limited for editing. But yeah, it's just like I've always liked it. It was always a great series. I love the debates of which iteration of Marty is this. And also, you have to wonder: is this like I look at it as like going back to Ant-Man and Quantumania. Come on, let's face it. Doc Brown is Kang, man. Just a Kang that constantly gets in trouble that Marty usually has to bail him out of. I'm sorry, had to bail him out of in the first movie. He had to give him the motivation to create time travel, right? Second movie, Doc put him in a very precarious situation, and then had to rescue Marty out of the situation.
You got to do something about your kids, Marty.
Yep. And the third Marty,
it's like, why not just leave a
Marty
note?
had to go back. Like those two just rescue each other. That's what Future is. They're rescuing each other the entire damn time.
In more ways than
it is like, oh yeah. But I've always liked it. It's a really good like tug of war between the two because you never really know which one's in power that like at the time. Marty's not the brilliant mind that Doc Brown is, but he's the one that's more street smart and has no problem throwing down. Whereas Doc Brown just kind of like uses his brain. Hey, land on his car is like he's got a that's a 1950 whatever Rolls Royce. This is a DeLorean. He'll tear through us like tinfoil. Like, oh shit, okay.
You know what? You could scrap my whole fourth idea movie and just come up with like a 10-minute short film where you're intersplicing scenes from the first movie with Forrest Gump style. You bring in Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson.
Okay.
And say we're here to fix the timeline.
Someone just pokes Marty with a stick and they send him off to like the what do you call that other like netherworld place, wherever it was. But
he gets to meet up with all the other Martys.
Yep. Which is like what I love about Rick and Morty.
It's just a room full of Martys looking at each other and all of them saying, "This is heavy."
Yeah. that Back to the Future has made me absolutely love Rick and Morty because of how much it takes, like how much is based off of like those two characters pretty much. So, Doc Brown is Rick and then Marty is, Morty. But, it's not so much about time travel as it is about like, I guess, multiversal travel, but it's still, oh no.
Time travel's too easy.
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, so like Back to the Future, like what are your kids like thoughts on Back to the Future?
They enjoy very much, but I'm not sure if that's because they're like, "Yeah, Dad, this is a great movie. I love it," or "Yeah, Dad, this is a great movie. I love it."
Yeah,
I love you more, Dad. It's like, oh,
I love you. I love you enough to beg you to turn it off now.
It's been a while since we've sat down for our viewing. If I'm being honest there, and mind you, it doesn't have the enthusiasm that the Goonies did on them.
Oh no, I mean Goonies is like, Goonies is just amazing. That's a
show of a different color.
Yep. Ah, man. Anyway.
Yeah, it's too bad we're out of time. Otherwise, I would have said, "Hey, what about Ghostbusters?" But here we are.
I mean, I'm not going anywhere.
Son of a peach. I mean,
see, Ghostbusters is like not as like it's not as intense for me to discuss Ghostbusters because like with you, like we could both go on about them all day long, but with me, Ghostbusters is a much shorter conversation.
Yeah, with Back to the Future, you start pulling out charts and diagrams, and you're like, no, you got to understand the timeline, Brandon. And then, you go into a deep well of who's the real Marty? What's the real timeline? Why isn't this fixed yet? What's going to happen next? Nothing. Good. So then we got this whole thing that you got to, we didn't even talk about the Telltale game, Back to the Future. Woo, that was something. And well, yeah, it's a dive. It's a dive.
No, it is.
Sure. Ghostbusters very much more.
Yeah, Ghostbusters is like a straight
story.
Yeah, it's just a straight timeline. But no, it's like Ghostbusters. I remember seeing that as a kid. being scared shitless by the librarian, like when I was little.
Because it's a horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was always meant to be a horror film. It was, I think Harold Ramis it up and actually made it more of a comedy. But it's like, uh, even with like things like John Belushi passing away, and Eddie Murphy backing out of it, and them having to replace John Belushi with Bill Murray, and then Eddie Murphy with Ernie Hudson. It was, like growing up watching it, like I was obsessed with the Ghostbusters. And when I say obsessed, I mean I was obsessed, dude.
I'm gonna wait for motherly confirmation. Is this
No,
true?
she'll tell you flat out. Like, I mean, I knew everything about all the episodes. In fact, even like when I'm getting a relationship with a woman, I tell them that you're going to have to tell me the first and last names of all 4 Ghostbusters. There you go, obsessed.
Just for verifiable evidence, yes, it is true.
But it's like one of the things, like, to date me, you have to tell me the first and last names of all 4 Ghostbusters, their accountant, their secretary, and in the movies, the girlfriend, and also the baby. I need to know about the villain, the 2 terror dogs,
The talk show.
and no, not so much the talk show. I forgive the talk show because it's only like it's very briefly mentioned. But I do want to know when the world's supposed to end, according to the woman, and what hotel she said that she learned this from these aliens. But now moving on, though, it's
The
like,
cute nicknames.
yeah. But coming away from like Ghostbusters, like, I mean, I was so obsessed with Ghostbusters that I even, like, in my adult life, I stayed at a hotel in downtown Hollywood, in West Hollywood. I stayed at the hotel where they filmed the opening scene with Slimer, and I even went into the banquet hall where they filmed that scene. The hotel is gorgeous. Didn't have the best view. I had a great view of like an empty parking lot outside, but walking through the hotel at night, it's beautiful. But I always like the idea of these guys pretty much just being like, I don't know, like janitors, like cleaning up New York and just like catching ghosts, like really just like exterminators. That's it. But the practical effects, when I was as I got older, learning more about practical effects, I started even appreciating it even more.
Yeah.
Because little things like when you see Stay Puft walking down alongside Central Park, and he takes out a fire hydrant, you see all the water blowing up from the fire hydrant. It's not water, that's all sand. It's just a minimal, like a mini set that they had to use this on. But I loved how they wrapped it up. I love the chemistry. I love the difference in the characters. Yeah, you have Egon, who's the brains of the group. You have Ray, who's like the heart of the group. Bill Murray is like the even though he knows this stuff is real, he's very cynical.
He's the Bill Murray of the group.
Yeah, pretty much. He just Bill Murray's it up the entire time. And then you have Ernie Hudson, who plays Winston Zedmore, who's like the working man. He just goes to go get a job. That's it. And then in the second one, when you see that they're out of business,
Doing pizza parties.
Yeah, I never understood that. Like all of New York was under attack, and it was turned against them to where they were sued after Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. To the point where they had to close down. But everyone thinks that they were full of crap. It didn't really happen. So then, of course, Ghostbusters 2 happens, where Vigo the Carpathian comes back, and he's River of Slime, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The negative energy in New York City, which who'd have thought that even existed in New York?
Negativity in New York.
Not the strongest movie. Ghostbusters 2 is not like, I don't know, like Back to the Future. It all coincides with each movie leads to the next one, and it wraps it up beautifully. Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, there's like a sloppy kind of thing between the two, like in the time period between the two. But then you have, as we mentioned earlier, the merchandising.
Mm-hmm.
The cartoon for the Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters. Hysterical how they even had to call it the real Ghostbusters. But all the toys that came out, Dude, I had the Ecto one. I had all four of the Ghostbusters. I had a bunch of ghosts. I had Stay Puffed. I never had the Firehouse because, you know, Mom never got it for me. So I had no place to put the Ecto one. So I had to. No, I'm joking, Mom.
Well, if anything, that's more realistic because there's no place to park in New York.
Yeah. But I was so obsessed with the cartoon and the movie when I was a kid. We lived, like I said, we lived out. Well, this goes back to when we went to go see Ghostbusters. I'm sorry, Back to the Future 3. We lived in the middle of the woods in Anthony, Florida, out by Ocala. We had 2 horses that we were taking care of for somebody else. We had a chicken coop. We even had a sinkhole right by the place. I know I have several of those toys in your house. Best not let anyone play with those. But
Brandon, you can't be selfish.
no bullshit. I can. You leave my Ghostbusters alone. But either way, we didn't have a lot. To say that we were living in poverty, looking back as an adult, I never knew we went without because my mom did a kick-ass job with what she had to work with. And it wasn't much, trust me. But either way, I remember there's a picture somewhere of me wearing cowboy boots, I think, with a box on my back with ropes strapped around my shoulders. And I stole her vacuum hose from the vacuum cleaner to go bust the horses like they were my ghosts. But oh yeah, I was having like I mean it was a great time. I used to look forward to every Saturday morning watching a new episode of the Real Ghostbusters for years. Bowl of cereal, Saturday morning television. And to any one of your kids that might see this episode, you guys are missing out on an awesome 80s Saturday morning childhood. You're missing out. But
Unless,
Ghostbusters
of
2.
course, they watch the episodes that were included on the DVD releases.
Yeah, fair enough. But moving on, Ghostbusters 2. It was okay. So when I was like, around like I guess like what would it be like I guess like 8 years old, 8, 9 years old.
Something like that.
It was okay. I mean, 1984, 1989. So yeah, I was 7.5, almost 8 years old. But it was okay. I got more attached to as I got older. But then I'll tell you right now, as an adult, seeing Ghostbusters in theaters for the very first time in my adult life, and I was like 30 years old.
Yeah.
Dude, I was in tears because this is my favorite movie. Like I've never gotten a chance. It's like a Star Wars nut. Finally being able to see like a younger Star Wars fan who has never seen the original episodes 4 through 6 unaltered in the theater and finally getting a chance to go see that. That was like me with Ghostbusters. I was in tears in the theater watching this movie.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna sneak something in there real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. What's up?
I saw Back to the Future. I mean, I probably saw it when I was like 3, right? But that doesn't count. And during its original theatrical release, but I saw it when I was. It's been
1 week since you looked at me.
Yeah. 1 week since you looked at me.
Take
No,
your head to the side. So I'm sorry. Hey, go ahead.
we're gonna get flagged for because we're that good. Anyway,
Yeah. Can't tell us apart from bare naked ladies at all.
trying to think how old I was 13 years ago. I was like 28.
Okay.
So I was about 28 when I saw Back to the Future in theaters for the first time.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not the first time, but for the first time and able to recollect it.
Yeah.
It was the 25th anniversary, and they were giving away the one sheet from the original theatrical release.
Yeah.
So a poster. You got a poster for going. Full size
nice. Okay.
movie poster. And
that's awesome.
Cool thing was, I was able to go with a friend that had never seen Back to the Future.
See, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Now, how she and I were friends after finding out that information, I'll never know. But the fact of the matter was, I was able to bring someone new to the Back to the Future table
Mhm.
with a first screening at a theater. First time they saw it was at a theater. So yes,
Yeah.
it really sank its hooks in, and I was very proud of that moment. And anytime they re-release it, I'm always down to go see it in the theaters. Not like some of your local theaters that will just, hey, we're going to be showing this movie. It's not a new print. It's not anything. We're just showing it. It's fun to see older movies in the theaters, but when there's an event attached to it, that's when I feel the most inclined to
Yeah.
head down. And the 25th anniversary, I was like, yes.
Absolutely. And it's like, and I mean, like, obviously, like, if you were to just look over my shoulder here, you know, those are all Ghostbusters figures.
If you look over my shoulder, you'll see a blank
Oh,
wall.
and my favorite part of these Ghostbusters figures is I now have Zool. Look at that little Zool. You have to put them together. And Zool's leg fell off. I think that's supposed to happen. But either way, so
Oh, just while we're talking about things,
are we breaking out our toys here?
no. I'm going to break out something that does belong to you, though.
The tin.
Actually, no, that's on my bookshelf.
Okay.
But I have something that will be in the tin once you get it.
No,
If
Sunday.
you
Yep.
ever get it.
Yeah, Sunday.
I've only been holding on to it for your birthday for like a decade now.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. What's up?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be nice to have one of those.
Yeah.
That'd
Got
be
your
very
shirt,
nice.
buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice polo.
This is the one episode of Wadco Media where you had the two founders of Wadco Media interact with each other, because it's the only time like this specific founder of Wadco Media is available to attend any one of Wadco Media's shows, but I still catch them afterwards. But no, but going back to it, it's like I remember when Ghostbusters Afterlife first came out, I was thrilled when
You love some Paul Rudd.
it's not even Paul Rudd. I was just so curious what they were going to do with it. Out in the middle of like Ohio, there's nothing, like there was limited details about it. It was like hinted at for like 2 years, and then it got delayed because of COVID. Right? I was pissed. It got delayed by like a whole year for the release. And all I can think of is in that year, God, please don't let me die at all. I need to see this movie. After the movie, it's whatever you want to do. It's cool. Leave me alone to where I can watch this movie when it comes out.
Could have turned into a fanboy situation.
But I went to go see it with Danielle, and oh, dude, when like the opening scene when Egon dies, tears. I'll tell you right now, and it was like, I was crying, dude. I was like, you would have thought that it was like, you would have thought that I lost my grandparents all over again. I was a mess. And then the movie carries forward and all that stuff. But I was so excited, dude. I was just, I was pumped the rest of the movie. I was having a great time watching it. It's got mixed reviews. I thought it was fun. People think it's like, oh, well, it's Ghostbusters for kids. Like,
yeah,
well, it's the passing of the torch. Now, I will say the ending when all three of the OG Ghostbusters showed up, I thought it was awesome. It wasn't until like a month later I started thinking more, and like the writing standpoint of this, like where Phoebe just called from jail like the day beforehand, and now all three of the Ghostbusters, without even hearing them, just show up at the farm. They just drive up, fully stocked with the proton packs and everything else. They weren't like, they didn't drive the Ecto-1. The kids were driving the Ecto-1. But either way, I don't give a shit. It's Ghostbusters.
And Ray certainly was really eager to talk about a lot of personal stuff to a random person.
I know. Like, just unloads everything on the phone with this kid.
That does seem kind of Ray-like, though.
Yeah, it's like at the very end. I love the whole callback to the first Ghostbusters movie when Ray brings up the whole line, like trying to get rid of Gozer, right? Like, like telling Gozer it's time to go back, but it's like a mirror from the first movie. And then like Gozer like, and Gozer, like it's Gozer remembers these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like that little smile that Olivia Wilde has in that scene where like Gozer says, "Are you?" and pauses, little smile, a god. And Ray's like just like pauses for a second, and you have like you have Winston and Peter's like, Ray, oh come on, Ray. He's like, yes, yeah, we're all gods. Now go home. But dude, I was just all the callbacks and everything else of the first
Mm-hmm.
movie. I love, honestly, a lot of times CGI is a little tricky. Uh, but the way they had Zool and Vince Clorthos, yes, the Terror Dogs names, the way they showed them and how like once I guess like their interactions with people and how they possess people and stuff like that, I thought it was awesome. Actually, showing them possess someone, get captured like in a trap, get let out of the trap, and you know possessing somebody else. Paul Rudd talking about how I was like, oh yeah, I hit my head on that bench back there. Like, so they remember what they were doing. They just had no control over themselves. I thought it was amazing. Like, I thought the whole movie, like, when Winston, when Egon shows up at the very end of the movie, and all the Ghostbusters were able to say their goodbyes to him. And that was one thing that did bother me about the movie, actually, was how Ray and the guys, they did not believe Egon. Like, that bothered me. Like, no, it's coming. It's like, no, it's not coming. You're crazy. Like, you guys are dicks to Egon, man. Except for Ernie. Ernie paid for everything. But oh, dude, like it's always held a very, very special place in my heart. The Extreme Ghostbusters cartoon that came out in the '90s, that was awesome. But now they're making another one. They're already a Ghostbusters Firehouse, I think they're calling it. They're filming in London. The Ecto one's already overseas. So I'm curious how they're going to go about doing that one. But Winston is going to be, I think, like one of the leads in that movie. And I guess I don't know if the kids are going to be in that one too, but yeah. Either way, I'm thrilled. I think they honestly should have stopped it after Afterlife, but just kind of hinted that Winston's going to get the company back together. But yeah. Yeah, but you know me, I don't like too many sequels to movies. I think like it gets to the point where you kind of like just destroy the sanctity of what made the movie special. You're on mute.
I was saying it depends on what it is.
Well, I mean, okay, like Back to the Future. Back to the Future 3 wrapped it up, right? Doc Brown and Clara Clayton, they're like they have their boys, Jules and Vern. They're going off to do what they're going to do. Marty's got Jen. They're going to live their lives now. Everyone's kind of like just like the story's wrapped up.
Yeah,
It would have to take a hell of a movie to top those three movies.
I just pitched it on this episode.
No, you did, but it's like it would take, but like you're not Hollywood. Hollywood has a great way of destroying things.
You're not wrong.
Star Wars, the prequel trilogy, looking back, was not horrible. I still don't think it was great, but it wasn't horrible. The news trilogy that came out over the last like couple of years, those just destroyed. They like those directors, Kathleen Kennedy, just pulled their pants down, took a shit all over anything George Lucas ever built. I have my friend Shanna and I. We've spoken about Star Wars a few times. We do not count Star Wars, the newest trilogy, as being part of that series. It's like does like an extended universe kind of deal. And then going into horror films, look at Saw. The very first Saw movie was not a gory rampage of a movie. I don't know when the last time is that you saw that movie, but it's not really gory at all. Really, it's more of like a detective cat and mouse kind of game.
Yeah.
It's gory. It's really only gory in like two spots where the cop gets there, like, gets shot in the head, and where the doctor has to saw off his foot. After that, it just became more and more and more
Well,
gory.
there's the first trap.
Huh?
I said there's the first trap.
But it's like you didn't really see anything with the first trap. She, like, when she was stabbing the guy in the cellmate, like the cellmate was like, she did get the key from his stomach.
Behind the eye.
Oh, that was Saw 2.
I'm pretty sure Saw 1.
No, that was Saw 2.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Saw 1.
No, Saw 2. Saw 1 starts off in the bathroom. Are you doing research right now? I promise you I'm right. Because you're talking about the Venus. You're talking about the Venus flytrap.
Let's see, Saw disambiguation.
I think it's Saw 2. I'm pretty sure it's Saw 2.
Saw movie franchise. Saw film.
Venus flytrap.
Keep talking, man. I'm
Oh, no. You ever see like CSI Miami? Like the dude with sunglasses.
Yeah.
Horatio. I'm waiting for you to tell me I'm right so I can do something.
Okay, hold on. Okay, as it turns out, I was right.
Venus flytrap is in Saw 1.
As far as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Fine, you were right.
Saw 2, right?
Saw 2.
Well, I guess this is the best argument you ever saw.
Good night, everybody.
You see what I did there? You see what I did there? Did you see it? That was awesome, wasn't it? You saw that? And they were not sunglasses. It doesn't work the same way. But, you know what? I'll just see myself out here. Either way, so Ghostbusters is awesome. So I'm worried about what they're going to do with, like, how many other sequels they're going to make. How many can you make and keep the sanctity of what makes the fans, like, excited for these movies? And it goes over to, like, as we were talking earlier in the beginning of the show, with the MCU. Like, how many times can you make sequels to these movies, and how can you make it to where people are excited to go see them? So, like, Ghostbusters to me is the same way. Like, I mean, I'm a diehard fan of Ghostbusters. I know everything about all the movies. I can recite almost the entire first movie, beat for beat, line for line. But I don't, if you keep making these movies and they become less and less special, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters Afterlife to me are the best ones. But there's only really 3 that I give a shit about. But yeah. As long as I keep Paul Feig off of it. Feig? Yeah, Paul Feig. Keep him away from it, we're good. But he's already burnt that bridge with Dan Aykroyd, and Dan Aykroyd pretty much holds most of the rights to the Ghostbusters as it is. So he is the final say man. But anyway, on that note, it is 8:30. We've had a decent little show here.
Yeah, look at the runtime. I guess we never saw that coming.
No, you got to move completely off. It doesn't count. You got to move completely. You got to do
wheels on my seat, okay? How about this? And the pan up doesn't really work all that well.
No. No. It's okay. It's a technical difficulty. This is a WADcast. They kind of go hand in hand. So
My camera operator sucks. And
the
it's me.
flagship. This is like the flagship show for the company, and we just like we fuck up the most. And this was my one per episode. We mess up the
You snuck
most.
it in. Yeah.
Like everyone else is like, Jen. She's like just like on point with what she does. You and her are great together. You and me, we just always mess shit up. So
We're the boys. We're the wrecking crew.
it's like, hey, what's going on? It's like, the hell if I know. What's this?
That's why, I always, whenever I'm on a different show and I'm talking about the WADcast, like, what are you talking about this Friday? And I say, yeah, there it goes. They say, what are you talking about this Friday? And I say, I don't know. I'm not psychic, and it's not 5 minutes before air. So
yeah, you gotta give us at least like 5 minutes. Like even tonight, we didn't know what the hell we were going to be talking about. When we start talking about like Ant-Man, like Quantumania, and we go into like, then it kind of like a half hour, 40 minutes in, we get to the point that we spoke about like a week ago. I didn't even make a poster for this show. I'm gonna have to make something now, but like a after the fact thing. But anyway, yes, I am going to get going. I know it's late for you. I know you're not feeling well anyway, even though you look very handsome. So cute. Look at you. Yeah, that's a very special face.
yes, it is.
My special boy, Josh.
That's me.
Oh God.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
Oh,
Toys, right? I'm
Christ.
Batman. Now, mind you, I've been up since very, very, very early, so I'm a little punch drunk from exhaustion.
That's okay. I got you, man. No worries. But yeah,
But I'm
but
Batman.
This is so stupid. We gotta go, man. All right, this is getting late. All right, so I'm going to get going. BJacksman192 for all the socials. WADcast, Instagram, Facebook, facebook.com, instagram.com, both / the WADcast. Give us a like, give us a follow. We have a TikTok. I'm trying to figure out what to even put on TikTok. The hell if I know. But yeah.
Do dances. Do funny dances.
Oh yeah, do dances.
Do the dance from Wednesday.
I'm thinking film trivia. Film trivia, short little lists of trivia or like, whatever fun facts about films. Or just like, and there's a show that we have under Wadco Media that they discuss lists. They actually have a list throughout the show. But I'm thinking about doing something like that with the WADcast because there are very specific things that me and Josh have spoken about in regards to screenwriters, directors, producers, stuff like that. So there's other things that I can discuss without diving into movies themselves. That, after all, WAD does stand for writers, actors, directors, and everything in between.
Yeah, it does.
So, but yeah, that being the case, I'm going to go. I've got an early morning tomorrow, and I'm not even tired. So, plus I have to go to the bathroom, and yeah. So I'm going to go. You got this. Do your Uncle Jesse or Danny Tanner Full House kind of talk with that godforsaken music that I just can't.
You know what? They added a feature on this that lets me add music. So if I could find some actual, Full House inspirational music stuff, it'll probably be taken down or flagged for copyright.
Probably, yeah.
So if somebody out there can produce one of those,
I'm going to go. I got to leave so badly.
Okay, get out.
All right, I'm leaving. Good Friday, guys.
Okay, here we are. Once again, just us. Me and you kids. As always, if you want to find out more about everything we do here at the WADcast, you can start at the top, wadcomedia.com, because that's who we are. It's how we produce all of the fine programming at Wadco Media. There's going to be some special announcements coming up soon. Some programming changes to make note of, including, how's this for a tease? One series ending and another beginning. So expect more information on that in the future. But go to wadcomedia.com, where none of that information will be available. But it will at least link you to all the social media accounts like Facebook, where you can like it and get all the awesome updates that you'll need to stay up to date on what we're doing here at Wadco Media. And while you're on Facebook giving everything a like, why don't you go to 1021's Facebook page, give that a like. Go to the WADcast Facebook page, give that a like. And then you'll be able to stay up to date with all of the wonderful goings on with the running programs here at Wadco Media. Anywho, yeah, you see, I just promote the website now. But something the website also has is a Patreon. I'm not going to ask you to do anything with that, because that means I would have to do something, and I think I do a lot. I do so much. But if you want to order a shirt or something from the merchandise site, at least I'll feel better knowing that you felt so inclined to give to the cause, but you also get something tangible in return. So shirts, coffee mugs, notebooks, whatever the case may be. If you feel like you like what we do and you want to help out in some small way, then by all means, hit the merch shop. I try to post on the Facebook pages when things go on sale, and they do so quite frequently. So it's sometimes hard to keep up with how much they actually go on sale. I'm not going to say, make sure you pay full price for Brandon's already calling me. I'm still on the air, you Jackus. Anyway, I'm not going to say, hey, go make sure you pay full price for whatever you buy. No. Keep an eye on the Facebook page. I'll let you know when there's a sale, and you can get the stuff at a discounted rate, because I just think it's cool that, I make these designs and people would actually want to wear them. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, on to the final thought, the final message, the message that I've delivered 119 times and now 120 times. Every time, I think there was one exception. Anyway, remember, the only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. If you want to be a writer, you need to start writing. If you want to be a director, start directing. You got a phone, right? If you got a phone, that means you got a camera. If you got a camera, that means you can make shots. You can take shots. You can shoot stuff with your camera. If you want to act, hey, use that same phone. Act in front of it. It's not exactly rocket surgery. The point is, you got to stop giving yourself reasons and excuses not to do something, and just start doing it. If you go through wadcomedia.com to the YouTube channel, you'll see playlists that have select short films that I've been associated with or in, or whatever the case may be. Are they the greatest things in the world? No. But the fact of the matter is, I read this somewhere, your project doesn't have to be good, it just has to be made. And you're not going to do that just sitting there. So get to it. Get to work. Be the thing you want to be. Because guess what? There's nobody stopping you. Nobody. You don't need permission to create. I'm just letting you know. Well, that's it. This has been the WADcast episode number 120. Writers, Actors, Directors podcast. I am Josh, the guy that ditched us. That's Brandon. And we will be back next week with episode number 121. What are we going to talk about? Hell if I know. It's not 5 minutes before air, and I'm not psychic. So until next week, have fun. And you know what? Here's another little thing I'm going to add. You can choose to be anything you want. So always